we are going to bleed the enemy dry, economically, militarily, and it gets to a point where even their fighters will revolt themselves and say, no, we can't go on with this war.
Ladies and gentlemen, there've been this talk about talks going on in Cameroon. I have spoken to quite a few people, and right now, Professor Carlson Anyangwe is the man in this struggle who, if I want to either go for historical education or for current event, that's the man I go to. And I do have Professor Carlson Anyangwe right now on the phone. And Prof, welcome to this show.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes, I'm glad to have you on the phone. I've been pondering, and I've been talking to a lot of people, and I've been getting different versions of the meeting that took place between Sisiko and his team and La République du Cameroun and whatever team they brought. But there's a lot of controversy about what happened, how it took place. Have you been following that story?
Yes, I have.
What's your information, sir?
Well, like you said, I've been following the story. I wasn't there. But I can tell you from credible sources that I have, and other people have had those sources as well. I'm referring here to the write-up that was made by people like Maurice Kamto, Olivier Tembe, Boris Bedlot, Pen Terence, Barrister Ayuk Tabe, Congo, Eric Tato, and Yerima, to name just those ones. And anybody who has followed what these have put out would realize that there was indeed something that took place on the 2nd. Sisiko and his Naira 10 colleagues, with the exception of Tassan, together with other prisoners, for example, like Ben Terence, BBC Mancho, were taken out. The first story that came out was that the commissaire du gouvernement came for them, which was quite very interesting. Why would the commissaire du gouvernement come to take people? Because commissaire du gouvernement relates to a military tribunal, and as far as I'm aware, the Naira 10 and the other prisoners of conscience that are detained by French Cameroon are not necessarily all of them still in military court. So why would he come for them? But the way that came out was that, well, they always do this thing the night, it was in the evening. If by 10 nothing is heard from them, then perhaps we should raise an alarm, which means they may have been taken to unknown destination. Don't know what may have happened. Normal French Cameroon tactics. But later on, it transpired, from what we learned from all these sources which I've cited to you, that there was a meeting that took place. And a very brief one for that matter.
So did this meeting take place at night, you said?
Yep, they were taken in the evening.
Okay.
It was the night.
All right.
They were taken to a place a place called, which turned out to be the cathedral in Yaounde.
Okay.
And at that meeting, they met with people from the French Cameroon side, led by the director of external intelligence of French Cameroon, a Mr. Eko. He had this group with him, and when Sisiko and the other prisoners were brought in, the customary thing was to say, well, we are brothers and so on, which already elicited denial from the prisoner, who said, please don't bring us this thing about brothers. I'm not brothers. We are Ambazonians here. So they say, anyway.
Do you know who said that?
It was Eko who said...
Who said don't bring us this brother thing?
Yeah, we're Ambazonians. Don't bring us the brotherhood business.
Do you know who said that?
I learned it was Barrister Shufai.
Okay.
Yeah, then they said, okay, all right, fine. The reason why they brought them there is because of this ceasefire, following the resolution that was adopted by the UN Security Council, inviting countries that involve one form of conflict or another to commit to a ceasefire.
Professor, before you go into what was discussed, do you know who was present in this meeting? Other than Cameroonians and Ambazonians, were there any foreign agents or members of the international community available present in that meeting?
They were not present, but I understand that there were foreign embassies that were keen about this meeting, and they were following up events. And if you look at the write-up of people like Camto, Olivier, and so on, it turned out that the embassies were the United States Embassy, the German Embassy, the French Embassy, and even the UNDP, the UN. So they may not have been present. Well, I don't have evidence that they were present at that meeting, but that clearly they were interested in what was going on, and they were following very closely, monitoring what was going on. So it's not like something which they were not aware of. They're aware about that. And in the nature of things, and I can tell you in the nature of things, when it comes to something like this, where the UN Security Council has adopted a resolution on a subject like this, clearly the UN office in Yaounde will be very interested, keen to know what is going on. And in these matters, you are going to find players who perhaps at the background will try to promote this kind of a meeting. They are not going to get involved because it's not them. But often what normally happens is that they do their best to try to promote. So look, promoting means we think it's in your interest to have this thing going and accept the UN resolution, Security Council resolution. Notice that this is Security Council resolution. And Security Council resolutions are not taken in vain. It's not like a General Assembly resolution which perhaps you can ignore. But this one you cannot really ignore. Anyway, I'm saying that as giving a broader picture.
Mm-hmm.
But from the right of that come, what happened after this was said, it turned out that we were calling them now to talk about a ceasefire issue. And at that point, the prisoners' delegation said, look, we can't even sit here to talk about a ceasefire. And if you want to talk about ceasefire, these are our conditions before we even sit down to talk about a ceasefire. Now, those 4 conditions are out there. Everybody knows about them, which were given. The reply from the Cameroonese side was that, well, these conditions they cannot pronounce on those conditions. Whatever they are doing has to be referred to la haute hiérarchie. That's a French terminology. At least always in French Cameroon, they are referring to their president or whoever. And that was it.
So haute hiérarchie means higher authority?
Yeah, higher authority.
Okay.
And in this case, would only be a government headed by Mr. Biya himself. And that was it.
Okay.
There was no further exchanges of anything. There was nothing. Very brief, and that is it. And they were taken back to their respective cells in prison.
I don't know. Does it sound normal to you that that was all that they went? They did not have something more extensive to talk about?
I haven't the slightest clue. But you're asking about an entity that I do not distrust. I do not trust, and I've never trusted them. And I'm sure our people, Ambazonians, will not trust French Cameroon one single moment. So I don't trust them. I don't know. They're always up to all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we can speculate. I don't know. I have no evidence of what they're probably up to and the kind of things. But if you read between the lines of what the French Cameroon parrot, whom they call their spokesperson, says,
mm-hmm.
You recall that the spokesperson says, oh, there is word in the social media that there is some meeting on negotiations. Of course, we're always called terrorists, isn't it?
I think you're referring to the statement
so
met.
They say that, and they deny. They said that does not correspond to the reality of what took place. Notice the way they frame their mission. They are not saying that there was no any meeting, but they are saying that what people are saying outside does not correspond to what really took place. That's the first thing.
I think you're Prof. I think you're referencing the statement of Rene Sadi, the communication minister.
Yes, that I'm talking about the parrot. Yes.
If you want to hold just a second, if you want to hold just a second, let me read that statement, okay? The government of the Republic hereby inform the public that the information disseminating on social media about the holding on 2nd July 2020 of negotiations between a government delegation and secessionists awaiting trial is not consistent with reality. The government reaffirms its readiness to seek peaceful solutions to the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions, particularly through dialogue. It is therefore open to various contacts, initiatives, and proposals to that end while preserving Cameroon's national unity and territorial integrity. I'm going to read just those two paragraphs. Let me just finish it really. The government once again appeals to armed groups to put an end to the atrocities being committed against the civilian population as well as the destruction of development infrastructure, and to accept the peace offer made by the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya. For their part, the defense and security forces will, in accordance with the laws and regulations of the Republic, continue performing their duty of protecting citizens and their properties in a professional manner. And this was signed on July 6, 2020 by Rene Emmanuel Sadi. So this does not sound like people who are ready to negotiate any ceasefire.
No. That's the point I was making. Remember I was telling you about 3 points that emerged from there.
Yes.
The first one is that saying outside there people are claiming that there was negotiation going on. That they're saying there was no such negotiation. There was not like called negotiation with secessionists.
Yes.
That's what they're saying. That's the first point. That's what I mean by not corresponding to reality. The second thing is they claim, they profess their eagerness for peace. Isn't it?
Yes.
I talk about peace, but we know that the oppressor's peace cannot be the peace of the oppressed. So these are two different kinds of peace we're talking about. You see, so that again falls to the ground. The other thing which those who have been reading this statement don't pay particular attention. You don't even read what that last paragraph is saying. There is, we will continue the war. That's what they're actually saying.
Yes.
When it says the armed forces, whatever, blah, 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 blah story. And it makes those kind of extravagant claims that they are respecting laws, that they are protecting civilians, which runs against the grain of what everybody knows. We know these people are all frauds and liars. So that's what it is. So that was their statement which they issued. Following that encounter, that meeting. As for what the reaction of our people were, I don't know, but clearly, I know that when the prisoners were taken out, word went round that they've been taken out, just in case if we don't hear from them by a certain time, then we should know something's happened. I think that's what activated our people to start saying, look, we must be on the lookout. We don't know what these people are up to, and so on. So that is the information we have, clearly. The point which raises a lot of controversy relates to some of the things which our people are not always very attentive to when they read information. A good number of our people just glance through a document, if at all they do glance through a document, and most of them actually do not even see the document. They depend upon third-hand information, and they build a story around that.
Yes.
If you heard people talking, who came out that, Sisiko has no right to be negotiating on behalf of Ambazonians. One person even tell me on behalf of the 8 million Ambazonians, and I said, so the 8 million Ambazonians should go and negotiate? He said, no. So I said, okay, who should negotiate? He said, all the liberation movements. I said, which are all the liberation movements are talking about that should go and negotiate? He said the SNC, SCAPO, Ambazonia, blah, blah, blah. I said, in what capacity then would Sisiko be telling the interlocutors that he cannot, but it's only this pool? Since you say he is not possessed of his sense, so in what capacity would be saying that he could not answer? And that reminded me of how our people, we do never strategize, we don't think deeply.
Now, Professor,
killed us at Fumban, you recall. When French Cameroon was coming, was a government delegation there. On our side, what happened? We took all the chiefs, everybody, position, everybody. It was like if we were going to go to a jamboree. And when we went there, everybody wanted, again, the typical peacock theory, which is another thing which we are afflicted with as Ambazonians. Publicity seeking. Take the speech, make a speech, blah, blah, talk, and so on.
So Prof, let me ask you this.
I hear some people trying to promote. But I can assure you that this whole thing, doesn't matter what people say, the business of talking is not given to everyone. We must admit it. It's like everyone claiming that, there's a patient in the hospital there, this operation on and so on. Let all of us go and see what is happening there. No, it doesn't happen that way. Leave the medical experts to do their job. Let us not claim, as we tend to do as Ambazonians, claiming knowledge we do not have. We are experts in everything. Everybody gets from sleep. Since these days it's very easy for everyone to talk, they simply get a phone, and next day they issue out some audio, write up something, and so on.
Well, let me ask you this, Prof. Can I?
Yeah, and they feel happy.
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question, okay? Obviously, there are many groups out there. What can you answer the question? This question for the people who are asking: one, does Sisiko have the right to speak on behalf of Ambazonians? That's my first question, because I have a follow-up. Or can you explain what right Sisiko has to be the one negotiating on Ambazonians and not all these other groups that some people are mentioning that have to be part of that talk?
First of all, I have not said that Sisiko must be the only one to speak on behalf of Ambazonians.
No, but does he have a right to be the one talking at this point? Does he have any right?
Yes, but of course he has every right to speak. Sisiko was mandated at the fourth conclave by SCACU. SCACU was an assembly of all the liberation movements. People, again, who don't read, don't understand some of these things. People should go and read that Independence Restoration Proclamation and see what is said there. All these bodies we're talking about, they were all assembled there. and they mandated him as the president. The deputy was Tassan. That was put there. So when I hear people saying that he has is not mandated to speak, I don't understand where they're coming from. But I would have been much more happier if you could say,
no, is there
one in prison? We all should go down and join in prison.
Is there any other group that has been that has such a mandate right now?
Pardon?
Is there any other group that has such a mandate that you just described?
I'm not aware that there's any other group. The HCNC, SCAPO, Ambazonians, they were all at the conclude that gave this mandate to these people. That's all. I don't see which other group we're talking about. There's none.
Prof,
I'd like to know that group.
Okay. Can you address another? There is another group that also met in Washington D.C. and you know there are two IGs right now with two presidents running. Do you know about that?
Yes, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah, and how do you? So with what you just said about Sisiko, what do you say about the other IG?
No, Sisiko has legitimacy. The other IG is a derivative IG. If they were clever, what would have done? They would have formed their own government. They would have formed their own movement. But it's a derivative. Rubbing off from Sisiko, that's what it is. So I don't see, because this IG, which came as a result of the mandate that was given at the fourth conclave, it's Kakov, and it's contained in the Independent Restoration Proclamation, which is there. Now, the other IG you are referring to has no such mandate. There is nowhere. None of these groups are talking about gave them this particular mandate which is given to Sisiko. So I don't understand. And the fact that this group still call itself an IG, which was not a founding group of that IG, because the IG was founded at the first conclave with all its other liberation movements present. So what legitimacy, on whose behalf can they claim to be speaking? Of course they can claim to speak on behalf of themselves and their followership.
Well,
that is not in dispute.
Let me tell you
that they have legitimacy.
Let me tell you what they would. Let me tell you what their response to you would be, Prof. They would say that there was, the group that Cometa represents, that it was a legitimate group it was a legitimate group that endorsed them or installed their own president. How do you answer that?
Well, it doesn't make any sense anyway, but assuming, but without considering the point, that is the case. I don't know what group. Mr. Cometa Elvis was represent the SCNC in where?
In North America, yes.
The leadership of the SCNC is headed by Mr. Fonfo, who is in jail. And he was there at the fourth conclave. And as a leader, that all of them invested Sisiko that legitimacy. So how can you have a faction or a branch of the SCNC that can arrogate to itself the whole SCNC ship and say that we now transfer SCNC allegiance to a group and say we now anoint you? Again, but even if that were possible, and that was incorrect, the fact that you have one group, even if it was formed for himself who did that, that still does not give this particular group the kind of legitimacy we're talking about here. That is legitimacy derived from liberation movements that represent the people and over the years have been fighting for and claim to speak on behalf of the people.
But Prof, I think, and I just want to stay on this for just a second, because I know what I'm doing here is I'm trying to bring some clarity to some of the noise that is out there. if you Cometa did not anoint their president as Cometa or as head of SCNC. I think it was done as head of Restoration Council, I believe.
And if he did that, even the Restoration Council had no powers. Where did he derive those powers to do that?
Okay, I just wanted you to clarify that part of it. Now let's go back.
How anybody try to look at this, twist this thing? There's no headway. Assuming he was head of the Restoration Council, where does the Restoration derive powers to make what in effect was a coup? Where? And a coup, by definition, is an illegal thing.
Okay, let me take you back. Yeah. Let me take you back to what is happening in Yaounde. Is there a process, a legal process of ceasefires and what follows after? You know, you talked about a UN resolution mandating this so-called, and I call it so-called because I don't believe Yaounde, what they were trying to do in Yaounde was implement that Security Council resolution. Is there a process of properly instituting or following that Security Council ceasefire as announced by the Secretary General?
Okay, your question requires me to do some little bit of explanation.
Yes.
Look, the laws of war, there's what we might call a local and general ceasefire or cessation of hostilities. These two terms, cessation of hostilities and ceasefire, are often used sometimes. But remember that cessation of hostilities may be stable or unstable. And even an armed conflict might be frozen by an armed intervention by outside forces or even by the international community. This is what actually the UN Security Council sought to do. And this term, if you look at the UN Security Council resolution, it doesn't use the term ceasefire. It doesn't. It talks of cessation of hostilities for 90 continuous days. That's what it talks about. So ceasefire is not the language of that resolution. And of course, cessation of hostilities on the orders or on the request of the UN Security Council, or sometimes even other international organ, people might look at it as a ceasefire. And the general effect of a ceasefire, as you all know, is to prohibit absolutely hostilities and operations within the area that is the subject of the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the UN has said a ceasefire, that ceasefire ordered by UN would be mandatory, although it might not take immediate effect.
Mm-hmm.
But the term cessation or suspension of hostilities appears to be used when the measure is regarded as a step towards ending the fighting between belligerents and a step towards a durable peace. And I would suggest that is why UN Security Council resolution did not talk of ceasefire. It talked of cessation of hostilities.
Okay.
So in the thinking of the UN or the UN Security Council, at least, this is simply a measure towards ending the fighting between the belligerents, and not just ending it and a step towards a durable peace. Now, this expression, durable peace, which the UN uses in many of its documentation, in many of the resolutions, has a loaded meaning.
Okay.
It is not for nothing that the Security Council talked about 90 continuous days. 3 months, we all know, is quite a while, isn't it?
Yes.
And within 3 months, a lot of things might happen. The UN is gunning for a durable peace. And durable peace, you can only have a durable peace when the root causes, the thing that prompted the war, those things are attended to. Because if you don't attend to those things, you are not going to have a durable peace. The peace the UN is talking about here is not a peace of the colonial oppressor. It's not a peace which French Cameroon has in mind, because that is his own peace, which means he has to continue with his oppression. Because, as I've said, the peace of the oppressor is not a peace of the oppressed. The peace the UN is talking about here, remember, these are two countries that are side by side. Ambazonia one side, French Cameroon one side.
Yes.
As God will make it for one reason, the neighbors, they are never going to change that. Ambazonians are not going to move and relocate somewhere else. So the UN is looking at it as a much wider global thing that will ensure that whatever result come out of after resolving the root causes, that the two countries live side by side as good neighbors. If you don't do that, what you do is you simply postpone the hostilities for a future date. And what the UN is trying to avoid, because they have learned lessons, they have learned from all over the world, things like this have happened. So that's why I always challenge our people. When you read some of these things, please take the time to just do cross-check and do your homework and find out why, for example, the Security Council did not use ceasefire. It chose to talk about cessation of hostilities.
Now
It's always a reason why they do that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Prof. You know, I find it unreasonable for anybody to expect La République du Cameroon, backed by the French, sitting on the other side, an Ambazonia that is not armed, that does not have the same status, coming to sit without a third party in between and expect something fruitful to come out of it. Is that fair to the Ambazonians to expect them to go have any type of I've heard people talk about negotiating from jail. I mean, is it fair for anybody, not even jail or no jail, is it fair for anybody to expect La République du Cameroon and Ambazonian, when I say La République du Cameroon, I'm really talking about the French. Is it fair to expect any kind of balance, any kind of equity to come out of that kind of a meeting?
Okay. I'll answer your question in 2 or 3 points. The first point is, remember, this conflict is conceptualized by the United Nations and the rest of the countries of the world as a conflict within Cameroon. We all understand that, isn't it? We all understand. So as far as the outside world is concerned, it is a conflict within Cameroon. All our efforts, diplomatic and otherwise, is to impress on the outside world that really this is not a domestic issue, something within Cameroon. Because as far as we are concerned, Cameroon refers to La République du Cameroon, and French Cameroon has been capitalizing on that. They hardly refer to themselves as La République du Cameroon because no implications of that. So they use the appellation Cameroon, which is rather very confusing, especially people who don't know the true history. And quite often I see them spell it even in the English spelling of Cameroon.
Yes.
So that is part of the polysemous use of that word to confuse people who don't know. And most people outside the outside world, don't even know what we are talking about. Much more confusing. You start talking about northwest, southwest. I had friends who told me, "Oh, you people there in the north of Cameroon." I said, "My goodness," because it's quite north. So they look at the north. Or if you told me the south, they told me the south of Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
So French Cameroon has been thriving on this confusion. So the idea is it's a conflict taking place inside Cameroon. That being a conflict taking inside the Cameroon has the responsibility to ensure what the UN talks about, the cessation of hostilities. It is not that the UN is not aware of the fact that there are Ambazonians fighting for their very survival. The UN is aware of that. But remember the world as it is. The fiction cannot be put out there. That is a sovereign state called Cameroon. We all know it's not a sovereign state. It's not really independent. We all know that. But that fiction must be maintained. There's happening inside the Cameroon, and therefore the primary responsibility lies with Cameroon to ensure that there's cessation of hostilities. But French Cameroon knows very well that alone it cannot ensure any cessation of hostilities. That has to be done with the concurrence of the Ambazonians who are fighting for their own very survival to restore their independence. So that's why French Cameroon is having all this, get this meeting, which as yet, and this is the crunch about it, there is no negotiation going out. There is no mediation which is going on. I've heard people have used all kinds of variety of terms. People have said, oh, there's negotiation that is going on, there's mediation that is going on. Some have even said there are talks going on, some have even said there are dialogue going on. There's no such thing. Look, any student or students of negotiation, they teach that the art of negotiation is not a haphazard, free-for-all process. And that this process is appropriate to a particular dispute, like the one we have, which is an intractable dispute, which threatens internal peace and security in the Gulf of Guinea. And this dispute is most likely to bear fruits when the two sides, the antagonists, have both arrived at the conclusion that they will probably be better off with a settlement than without a settlement. In other words, the moment is ripe. That's what in the language of negotiator, the moment is ripe for a settlement, or it is propitious to launch a mediation or negotiation. And this will often be engineered by, that's what I was talking about, be engineered by some muscular third party. The case which you just mentioned, this meeting, the UN there, the Germans, the Americans, these are muscular third parties. Engineer that thing. We know, you French Cameroon, although you claim that you are a sovereign state, whatever, we know you cannot achieve any cessation of hostilities. You are fighting with Ambazonians. So there must be an agreement between you and the Ambazonians on this ceasefire. And this is the kind of thing which they are engineering at the background. They are not people to be at the table. Of course, diagnosing this whole question of the right moment is not a scientific process. But when it has been done, the process, and this is a point I've been laboring to explain to people, when that right moment, when that propitious moment has been diagnosed, that it is right now for a settlement, there are stages. And there are at least 5 sequential stages that go through. And this begins with what is often denoted as pre-negotiations. That is a stage in the formal stage of negotiation, pre-negotiation. And I can tell you, all students of the hotel, that's one of the toughest stages of negotiations, pre-negotiation. Why do I say that? The two sides, first thing, they have to agree that they need to negotiate in the first place. For example, if French Cameroon takes actually is taken now, that it will win the war and impose its will on Amazonia. Clearly, it is clear that they are not prepared to negotiate, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not.
See any need for negotiation.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah. So the first thing, therefore, in that pre-negotiation is to agree on the need to negotiate. The both parties say, look, we have to resolve this whole thing, negotiate. First thing. The second thing is you have to agree on the agenda. What are the agendas? The agenda is what are we going to talk about? What are the issues we have to talk about? And then the third thing, very intractable, is the procedure. What is the procedure we're talking about? If we didn't agree on how to negotiate, should it be in secrecy? What format are we going to use in the negotiation? Should it be direct or indirect talks? Where would the venue be? Which venue are we going to use? Where? What about the delegations we are talking about? The delegation on both sides. Even if you say yes, delegation will come, but at what level are you going to pitch the delegations? How are the delegations going to be composed? What is the size of the delegations? What is even the question of timing even? When would negotiations start? And I can tell you, you laugh at this, but interestingly, states, when they get involved in this thing, I tell you one thing, what they do is some of them do consult astrology. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To find out which astrologically, which is the most favorable time for them to. So that's why when they do that, they will insist, it must take place the first week of September. Because they consulted the astrologers who have looked at the crystal ball and said, if you do have this meeting at that time, you are going to come out victorious. And so they insist on that. But you two say, no, of course, you two would have consulted your own astrologer who would say, oh, no. So you disagree. Some said, oh, okay, fine. Let's put on 25th of December. Some outside say, oh, no, we're a Christian nation. That is Christmas Day. We cannot stand negotiation on that day. We don't agree. I can tell you, just pre-negotiation, trying to agree on these things I've mentioned, might take months, sometimes years. It's amazing how this, depending upon how acute the issues are disputed.
Yeah.
So when people just jump up, and yet, this pre-negotiation, we're not going to talk about the substantive negotiation yet. We're not going to meet of it. We haven't started that meet. These are just, preliminaries before the event, you know.
Yeah.
So when I hear people start talking about negotiations, clearly these are people who have no understanding whatsoever, and they are not humble enough to admit their limitation in this regard. They say, no, we don't know. So these things are as formal as anything. There is no negotiation, and there is not going to be any negotiation by ambush. It has never happened. It will never happen. It will never happen. These preliminary things here will have to be done once we agree that there's a need to negotiate. People put their acts together, put their houses together, put their team together. If one side said they want to bring the 8 million people to go there into that conference or whatever it is, fine, let them go. That is their business. You know? The other side may choose to have one person to speak. That is that side's business. The other side may say, no, we're a team of experts. That will do the job for us. We know what we want. Clearly, that is his business.
Yeah,
so I want ambassadors to understand this thing. You are never going to have any negotiation by ambush. You are never going to have any negotiation where one or two persons just go and sit and say they are negotiating on behalf of this. It is never going to happen. We will have to have our house in order. If, talking as Ambazonians, we agree, like somebody was saying, all the liberation movement, whether they are 20, 50, 100, they should go. We pack ourselves, we go there. Yes. I have no problem with that. Let them go. But to be able to presume that each time somebody tries to make a point, or there's some contact meeting, people go to get hysterical and say, oh, there's negotiation going on, and so on. And by the way, let me just say, that is a position I took when even people were going to Switzerland for Swiss talk. My point was to issue a caution. I said, be very mindful. These things, these are the steps, these are the processes. If you are jumping in to go there, please look out to this, be mindful. But left to me as an individual, I will not jump in now until I have certain things clarified first, and I know what I'm going to. But if you insist on going, and as you proclaim you are going to bring us independence, who am I to refuse independence? Please go. And I'm taking exactly the same attitude here. So people should not go around having hypertension because they claim some person is negotiating there or left or right or center and so on. The time will come. We'll get all the 8 million ambassadors and let them go and sit there and negotiate. Fine, that is fine. So long as they bring back independence, I think everybody will be happy.
You know, Prof, you mentioned something. I want to go back to where you said the French. I want to mention the French because the French were the first to come out and say that this issue would be resolved in La République du Cameroon. And it seems to me that that remains, everything happening right now is fitting within that mold. Do you think Ambazonians should continue to participate in this, in what I would call a charade, really?
I'm pleading with Ambazonians, please, let's not behave the fool here. Do you reasonably expect the French to come and say anything other than that? My goodness, for God's sake. This is a position people are trying to adopt a position because you know eventually what is going to happen. And I'm making a lot of loud noise. That's what it is. And it's a right, frankly. It's a right. And it's a policy, what we call a policy maneuvering. If we cannot also do a policy maneuvering, we all do chatter and clatter like weaver bears I will often tend to do. That is our fault.
Well, that's what. Let me
playing that game, and they're playing that game very well.
Yeah, let me just cut in. So that's why I'm.
If we cannot play our own game, that is fine. But one thing I must tell you, why is the French so much deeply involved? Because as you know, French Cameroon has never been an independent state. Even the French themselves describe French Cameroon and say independent fictive. They themselves say so, not with us. French Cameroon, therefore, is a failed state and worse, is a vassal state of France. So that's why France is calling the shots there. That's why France is doing what it's doing. For France, they want to grab Ambazonia because they have a historical grudge against the English that the English grab, in their view, Quebec. And so they want to have their own against what they consider Anglo-Saxon world by grabbing a piece of English-speaking country. These are things we know. So instead of looking at the French and their maneuvering, we crying. We should be able to be strategized, sit ourselves and say, what is the French saying? What is our own maneuvering and positioning?
So what should be...
Because it's like a battle.
Quick question.
Your troops.
Yes.
They started maneuvering your troops and so on. That's what it is.
So what should be Ambazonians' strategy right now to counter that? What would you suggest?
I won't presume to dictate what the strategy is, but the first thing Ambazonians should do is they should stop chattering like weaver birds. That's the first thing. We talk too much, and often we talk before we think. I would have preferred Ambazonians who see events happening. They sit down, take a few days, cogitate, meditate, and strategize over those events. And call each other backstage. Brother, this is what is happening. How do we counter this? How do we get about this? How do we do this thing and so on? Once they made a few calls like that amongst themselves and so on and so forth, then the next strategic thing to do is, who can we mandate to articulate this voice? Because we cannot be talking all of us at the same time.
Probably, I'm going to cut you.
They look among themselves and say, okay, we think we should challenge this thing through this person or through this organization, whatever view they might take, for them to express this, our standpoint of view.
Prof. Prof.
Yes.
Let me cut you short on that. Let me say this. I think the reason why what you're saying is not happening, the reason why it's not happening is because, and this is my theory about it, is because we are conducting our liberation as a country with a government. Even in every government, there is a political party that represents that government. There is really no government that says, I'm just part of the country, there's no political party. That's what we're doing. And I'm saying this, and I want to give you an example. If Ambazonia had SCNC being a political party or a movement that is properly constituted with membership conducting this, then they can go, then they have control of the information, they have control of the actors, they have control of everything. For example, the ANC in South Africa conducted or prosecuted the fight for the independence of South Africa. So they could control the events, they can control information. We don't have. We went on former government, and everybody who is an Ambazonian actually claims to have a right to speak. So that's why we are all around the place. And do you think we can go now? Should Sisiko, who you have said has the legitimate, should he now form something more specific, an organization through which he works to represent the Ambazonian people rather than say, I am the president of Ambazonia and so I will consult with everybody to make a decision? Can you clarify that for me?
I've had occasion to respond to that question. The problem is not the government. The problem is with us. Let us not blame something for our own inefficiency, our own inability to face up to reality and to face up to facts.
Prof.
I will not have been effective about that. The Algerian Liberation Movement, they had a government. And that government was located in Cairo, in Egypt. So when we have failings, instead of looking at us critical at ourselves and say, where did we go wrong? And so on, we tend to blame,
Prof.
scapegoat something.
Can I say something, please? Can I say something?
I'm coming before you.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Please, land.
Let me finish with my thinking. So I don't think we should begin to scapegoat anything about a government. And any government just as its people want it or as its people deserve. So, right now, there's a government or there are governments, whatever. That's the reality on the ground. There's nothing anybody can do about that. You can't do anything about it. So what I'm saying that let's not start blaming issues of governments. We should blame ourselves. The very people who constitute that government, the very people who follow that government should be the one, based on the principles of democracy. So one, to be able to say, we need a new direction right now. I haven't heard those voices coming out. They're happy with the situation as it is. Now, tactically, what should then happen is, sometimes I hear these people out there, sometimes they just often talk about Mandela, ANC, and so on. As if inside South Africa here, you had a monolith. I'm afraid not. There were other movements that were inside Africa here fighting for liberation, and that's part of the reason why you have now there's kind of a strong anti-Mandela feeling here. Do you ever hear anybody talk about Sobukwe, for example?
No.
Sobukwe. People don't. No, what the point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of liberation movements, not just ANC. But what happened? And even within the ANC itself, the ANC was itself divided. How Mandela, who was just the leader of the Mkutu, was Sizwe. That's the lead. He was a youth leader, the youth league leader. And when they challenged the mainstream ANC said, oh, guy, you are talking about force and so on, and you take charge. So they took the challenge and formed the military wing.
Well,
and Mandela went to prison because of that. He was not leader of the ANC. Never.
Prof,
So
I think you've made the point that yes, we have the government and it's a given. What I also want you to know is that in the days of social media right now, there's no way you can stop anybody from saying what they want to say. And what I was suggesting was that, we don't have, we are so loosely organized that it's hard to control information, and therefore we shouldn't be surprised that everybody wants to express an opinion, and that opinion is loud and clear. So we have to do something. We have to do something to control information and also to be more efficient in prosecuting. In fact, to even strategize. And that's why I was thinking that if you have a small unit that says, here is our mission, if you want to join us in this mission, and that's what movements or political parties do. Sisiko himself doesn't even have a political party, even though he says he's a government. Even though he is the government, no, he says he is the government, but there's no political party. So there's a canopy without a stem. That's what I'm trying to say, and therefore everything is just around the place, and everybody takes their shot, and some of them come and say, "Oh, I will take my shot," and you give them the government, then they go and form their own government in their own kitchen. So I'm not saying you should answer this right now because I think it's a big problem. But that is what I am thinking that is part of our problem in this struggle. And if you look at, and because of that, if you look at, so you find a need for people to always come and update. I saw Penn Terence trying to please everybody by trying to justify what they're doing, and when you do that, you give out information. So some of this information that people then take and fly with is given by the same people who are in government or who are in those special positions where information should be controlled, but they can't control it because they need to process it, and there's no organization through which to process that information and control it.
Yeah, that is correct. But we are not the only people fighting a liberation struggle at this age. There are other peoples, but those other peoples are not as fractious as we are. Not just being fractious, we love stabbing each other. We love insulting, and our people have come to think that, probably a section of our people have come to think that insulting shows knowledge. So that's what you find over the social media. Very few people ever take the point to write serenely and use appropriate language. We respect the humanity of the other person. No. So this is what anthropologists have long since called the peacock theory. And this is what somebody wrote about the African. The African is a real peacock. He is eccentric and full of his rugged individuality. He is boastful, arrogant, assertive for the wrong reason. He is aggressive and impatient of authority, truculent and insubordinate. He is keen on evading his duties, swaggering and boastful. That is Malinowski, primitive man. No, primitive law. So this is the typical description of who we are, the African. Of course, a caricature, no doubt, but much of this fits into the kind of thing which perhaps we see going around. Our people have not learned yet to be calm, cool, and collected, and to think, as I said, purposefully, strategically. We often talk, as I said, like the wheelbarrow, just chatter. So what you are proposing is something which you think should happen. But my observation of our people for this past number of years, most of them, is not going to happen. And so therefore, I don't count on that public. What I still don't believe is you can have a group of conscientious Ambazonians who think deeply, and there are many of them who think deeply, and who can strategize and start having things move. These people, of course, are going to be attacked. They are going to be lampooned. They are going to be caricatured by the others whom we know. But I don't think they should give up on this enterprise.
No, I don't think we'll give up.
Do that,
I don't
maybe at some point we'll begin to get somewhere. Strategically, I would have thought people would have said, okay, fine. Maybe Sisiko, those of them who feel aggrieved by the fact that perhaps they should have been the one and not Sisiko, although none of them have said, oh, why is Sisiko in prison? Why not me? They have not seen that kind of argument made. And I've not seen anybody decide to take a flight from where they are and land in Yaounde, whatever they want, and say, no, I'm the one who's correct, supposed to negotiate or do whatever. They are not doing any such thing. They're only sitting behind and talking. So, but tactically and strategically, and that's going back to ANC, that's what they did with Mandela. Mandela was never a leader of the ANC. He went to prison, never a leader. He became only after he came out of prison. Oliver Tambo was a leader. He was outside. But the ANC, the one in Oslo and the one that was in Lusaka, had issues. But tactically, they decided, okay, since Mandela is in prison and all the focus is on him and so on, we should all rally behind him and see that whatever ideas we have, we channel through him for him to bring for the greater good.
Prof, let me...
It's not like saying that he was the best one. And the same thing too you find that has happened in many other liberation movements. They have somebody who perhaps you say, okay, this person it is. So right now, I would have thought, people would have said, well, okay, fine. This person who is there, assuming they're talking with him, whatever is going on and so on and so forth. Let's try perhaps to give him some ideas so that he doesn't go astray, think about it and so on. But instead, we are attacking, tearing into pieces, doing this and so on, and doing what we also know best, seeking for publicity and say, I'm the one who is supposed to be there, not him. or know this other person, and so on.
Prof,
that's my shortcoming. It's
yes,
unfortunate.
Yes, it's something we have to deal with. Let me ask you this. It seems to me that we are at a stalemate right now. La Republique is not winning the war, and obviously Ambazonia at the moment with where things are would not be able to knock out La Republique through a military victory. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
just 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
I can hear you loud
All
and
right.
clear.
So it seems to me that we are at a stalemate right now, and this stalemate, La Republique believe, works for them. It gives them time to continue what they're doing, and someday Ambazonians would be depleted of whatever they have that they've been resisting with. What is your? I'm giving this in conclusion. What's your quick conclusion? What's your proposal? How should we proceed? Because I don't believe the international community is doing what we expect them to do. I don't believe they're coming in. I think they're mostly silent, hoping that that the French would win their country. I have always, all of these were set up by white supremacists. Being in America these days, I don't think you'll find it surprising that I'm bringing up the idea of white supremacy, and that is who is manipulating what is going on in the territory. That's who manipulated Ambazonia to be where it is right now. And and I was just talking to Barrister Bobga, and he was talking about international economics playing the game in the place. What is your suggestion? What would you suggest we do going forward?
Okay, what I'm not a military expert. If I know nothing about fighting or the military. But what you've described does not appear to be my own reading of the situation. If anything, it is French Cameroon that is on the bad foot. Look, there's like two systems of war, types of war that are going on here. French Cameroon is a conventional war, and by conventional war definition, it means you knock out your enemy and impose your will on the enemy. That is the logic of all conventional war. Ambazonia is fighting an asymmetric war. In other words, a guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare is not time-bound. Conventional warfare is time-bound. Conventional war is time-bound because you are seeking to knock out your enemy and impose your will. And the sooner you do that, the better. Guerrilla warfare is not seeking to knock out the enemy. No, it's not. It's a war of attrition. And that war of attrition means you suck out the enemy. It makes it so difficult for the enemy. It's going to take 10, 15, 50 years, such a way that at some point the enemy says, frankly, this is not doable anymore. And then the enemy leaves. And the enemy will leave, whether looking for a face-saving process so they can live with some honor, or they simply just run away and say, look, we better cut our losses and go. It happened to the French when they were beating and Pierre Denfou. They had to run back home to France like rats, France is still suffering from all of that up to today. So the pressure is not on Ambazonian fighters. And I believe I read their intention when I say that. It's not on them. The pressure is on French Cameroon. In terms of armaments, Ambazonian fighters don't need to have aircraft, don't need to have tanks, don't need to have armored vehicles, because those things are completely useless in guerrilla warfare. You don't use those things. And in guerrilla warfare, because those things are not useful, the guerrillas do not acquire those kind of equipment. The person fighting the conventional warfare acquires that kind of equipment, but that equipment is useless in guerrilla warfare. Can you imagine putting artillery and that firing artillery like that in the guerrilla warfare?
No.
To firing to get who? Firing to go up the hill? Doesn't make any sense. So, and this is what the fighters have been saying. We are going to bleed the enemy dry, economically, militarily, and it gets to a point where even their fighters will revolt themselves and say, no, we can't go on with this war. So, in terms of time, The pressure is on the French Cameroon side, not on our fighters. Secondly, as far as France is concerned, France is living an illusion. And that is the deception of France. France itself, that has lost all these wars in Europe eventually, has not been able to win any. I know somebody will correct me and say, oh, Napoleon Bonaparte won this thing. But people forget that Napoleon Bonaparte's army was essentially 3/4 of them made out of mercenaries drawn from various European countries. But in any case, Napoleon ended on a huge defeat at Trafalgar. The French have lost each and every significant war you have on this earth. In Africa itself, in Algeria, they lost. I would have thought they would have wanted to advise French Cameroon, say, no, this thing is not like that. Let's perhaps think differently. But like I said before, they think they can weather this particular storm precisely because they were able to impose their will on the section of the population of French Cameroon. No, France is not going to get to it. As the grace goes by, the international community is getting more and more concerned, and I can bet you the UN is beginning to take some interest, if only because of humanitarian reasons. The world as it is now, there are principles of responsibility to protect. There are concepts that sovereignty entails responsibility. If a state claims that it's a sovereign state, that comes with responsibility. And that responsibility means, at the very minimum, you don't do the kind of atrocity which French Cameroon is committing. Because once they start committing those atrocities, it loses a huge chunk of its sovereignty, and therefore is taken to have considered that part of its sovereignty to the international community, to the UN, to impose its will. And that's what the UN has often done. There is no war, conflict that has started within the first 2 years the UN has intervened. Look at it, just look. Often, why is that so? Because often they think that, well, let's give the territorial state the chance to solve this particular issue. If it solves it peacefully, fine. If it solves it by imposing its will, fine. But as time goes on, they discover that the territorial state cannot. And there's no legal basis for it. And then they begin to look for ways to intervene. And I'm submitting to you today that when the UN adopted Security Council resolution and called it cessation of hostilities and not a ceasefire, this has a huge meaning. And I also further suggest that's the reason why French Cameroon is dragging its feet, because they know the implications of all of these things. So, yeah, white supremacists, they are doing whatever thing it is out there and so on and so forth. But I don't think the world is just cut into looking at black and white as we tend to look at it in those circumstances.
Prof, I really want to thank you for joining me in this conversation. Let me say, when I talked about the situation right now, I was actually just looking at the atrocities in our territory that you're talking about. I think those who are bearing the brunt of those atrocities want to see this thing come to an end, and I think that's what we're looking at. But in the long run, I think you're absolutely correct that as time has gone on, the Ambazonian fighters are beginning to actually make their own weapons. They're beginning to come up with their own explosives, and the war is, and I think La Republique knows that the Ambazonians are getting better. They're not getting worse. So I really thank you for joining me on this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just end up by saying that, making this comment. The first one is that there is no reason for us to despair. I think 3 years of fighting, we've done extremely well.
Yes.
Look at the background where we came from. Not one trained soldier, nothing. Our boys and girls just rose up from the different villages and decided to face the challenge. And French Cameroon made the strategic mistake of putting the first line of fighter who their best, in other words, what they call the elite force, the B. And once the B have been vanquished, what else have they to offer? Nothing else.
Yes.
Nothing else. You know, that's the first point I want to make. The second point I want to make is that Ambazonians are not interested just having a ceasefire for the sake of having a ceasefire, because that takes us nowhere. It takes us nowhere. We don't want to have a ceasefire, and then after a ceasefire, what? the hostilities go on. We're looking for a permanent solution. And the permanent solution we conceive of is that there must be a humanitarian intervention, which means that the UN must land troops there. And landing troops means that French Cameroon forces will have to quit our territory. You have UN troops from Numungo, from Tiko there, passing through Tomba, that area, Bibialem, Santa, all that say go to Bui. You have troops to be there. So these people don't come back. It is only under those circumstances that international humanitarian aid can start pouring in. Our refugees can start coming back, and our IDPs start coming back. And for us, it's not a question of IDPs come back, our refugees come back. For us, we have to subject themselves, to submit ourselves to the brutal colonization of French Cameroon. So once that has been done, all of that established, we have said we are prepared. This whole process which I talked to you, what I call negotiation, we call it mediation, whatever thing it is, we are prepared. But I can tell you from sources that French Cameroon will not want to go to any negotiation. They will never, and the French advise them never to do it for a simple reason: they have no case. They have no case. What will be the case they will put there? Why are they fighting on territory? This is a case of territorial aggrandizement, expansion of their territory. When and how did they acquire Ambazonians as part of their territory? They've not been able to say for the past 60 years. This is a clear case of what we may call open eye. We're talking to people, just open eye. See somebody still, you say open eye. No, it cannot be allowed. So that is where we stand. And our fighters are getting better and better by the day. And they know it. They are getting better and better by the day. And I can tell you, if this thing goes on next 1 year, 2 years, French Cameroon is going to surrender because they are going to feel the heat. They are going to feel the heat, no longer just in our territory, but in their own territory as well.
Yes, I agree.
So they have a very serious situation, divided as they are now by 2 or 3 groups. Some favor peace, some don't favor peace. Some say, oh no. Situation made compounded by the fact that you have political agitation going on there. You don't know what may happen. If you may have seen over the social media, people in the East, they're up now and complaining.
Yes, in San Melema, I saw that.
They have been no, East is what do you call that place East now? What is the capital of that East? I've forgotten now. I can't remember the capital of that place. Not the South, the East.
No, but I'm also letting you know. I saw a video from San Malema where they were complaining about this company that comes and takes timber, and they've been doing it for 30 years. There's no water in that village. There's no electricity. There's nothing there, and they just come and exploit the place and they leave.
Correct. So the more this fighting goes on, the more precarious French Cameroon becomes, and the Muslim North, they have an uneasy quiet about them. Nobody knows what is going through their mind. Nobody will know what they are thinking about. They are watching all the atrocities French Cameroon army is committing. And right now, I saw a report by Human Rights Watch. Now what they are doing is they go and take civilians that they should take guard duty while the soldiers are asleep, and to watch out for Boko Haram if they are coming. Civilians doing that in the north. Yes,
I read about that too.
So these people, they are in the American, they are in big shit. They are in big shit. The economy is collapsing. The infrastructure literally collapsing on a daily basis. The debt they rush now to contract to fight this war is climbing up steeply, and people are beginning to ask questions: who's going to pay this debt? So let's get hope. Let's have hope. Ambazonians will emerge victorious in this whole thing. We've done very well these 3 years of fighting. In a few more years, we are going to emerge.
Absolutely.
If you think of countries that have fought for 30 years, 20 years, and so on and so forth, before even the UN even try to look at what is going on. So we have not done badly. And I think the next 1 or 2 years, we should have a very clear idea of precisely when we shall come to our own, because that is not negotiable. Independence or nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.